Hey everyone, this is Dr. Brad from Macros Inc. Today we're going to be talking about one of the most expensive taxes that you will ever pay in your life in every area that you can think of. And this is one of the reasons that stops so many people from actually reaching levels of success is because they pay this tax way too many times and it costs them way too much money. And what we're talking about today is the quitting tax. So I want to set the stage with the concept and then we'll kind of dive into some examples. Every time that we quit something, we start over. And I think the most important thing to really conceptualize is not only are you kind of losing out on a little bit of that time, but what you're doing is you're resetting the clock on compound interest, right? So think about money, right? If you invest for a year or 2 years and you get 2 to 3% returns, let's say you get 6-7% returns, right? Let's say you invest $1,000 in your first year. 7% doesn't seem like that much, right? You're making what is that? You're making $70, right? That doesn't seem like that much. But if you keep that going and you compound that over 30 years, right? That ends up on year 30, that 7% ends up being, thousands of dollars in that given year. But if you keep starting over, let's say you invest $1,000, you get the 70, and then you spend it all, you start all the way over at the beginning. So you lose that compound interest. And so when you think about that, kind of apply that to a lot of the different areas of your life. Like let's just take it to your career, right? Let's say you jump from being, you're early in your career, you are an accountant, and then you go and you be a marketing executive, and then you go and you decide you're going to go back and be a lawyer, and then you do that for a decade, and then you decide, I'm going to become an investment banker. Like, you never get 40 years of experience. The most you ever get is 10 years of experience. The people who are paid the most at their job are generally the people who have the most experience, right? If I'm going to go to an attorney, am I going to go to the one who's got 10 years of experience, or am I going to go to the one who's got 40 years of experience, right? If I need to get myself out of a legal jam, I want the person who's seen the most. I don't care if it costs me a little bit extra money, right? So now let's talk about that in the context of, diets and exercise. I think probably exercise is the easiest place to start because I think this is where more people actually run into problems. If you look at professional bodybuilders, professional athletes, they don't change their program every 6 weeks, right? They change their program every decade. Like if you look at Olympic sprinters, if you look at professional basketball players, if you look at Olympic swimmers, if you look at the people who are at the top of their field, they're not changing their programming every 6 weeks, right? They're not going from, I'm Olympic lifting, then I'm CrossFitting, then I'm doing bodybuilding. They're not changing every 6 weeks. They're focused on the same thing 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Now, they may vary intensity and volume and things like that, but generally speaking, Olympic lifters are going to squat 3 days a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week for 20, 30 years. Swimmers are going to swim 5 days a week, 20, 30, 40 years. Basketball players, they're going to go shoot 1,000 jump shots a week for 30, 40 years, right? It takes a massive amount of time for compounding to actually be valuable. You know that compound curve where you look and it goes, it's flat, 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 and then it really starts to take off? The problem is most people really quit right before that inflection point. And when you do that, you reset the clock. So you get to there and then you reset it. You get to there and you reset it. So every time you do that, especially with your programming, you're resetting that clock. Now, when we think about diet, this happens all the time too. How many times do people jump from paleo to keto to Whole30 to if it fits your macros to zone to Weight Watchers? And here's there's two pieces to this that really kind of stick out in my mind. One is I have always had the adage of like everything works, nothing works forever. And that's true. I do believe that, but that doesn't mean you need to fundamentally shift everything you're doing. What it means is that you have now solved the problem that you needed to solve before, and now you've created a new problem. So you have to figure out how to use those tools that you've developed and solve the next problem, right? So if you've been tracking your macros and you lose 20, 30, 40 pounds, and now you're trying to go from 25% body fat, let's say you first went from 25% body fat to 10% body fat, now you're trying to figure out how to go from 10 to 7, it's probably the same fundamental ideas, but the tools in which you execute those ideas differ, right? It's the same thing when you're building a business. So it worked from 0 to 100,000, 100,000 to 500,000, 500,000 to a million to 2 million, 2 million to 5 million, 5 million to 10 million, 10 million to 50 million. Each step along the way, the fundamentals don't change. How you think about, strategize, the tools you use, how you think about the problem, how you execute, all of those things do change, but you just have to figure out how to solve that problem. What you don't need to do is get to a $10 million business, burn it all down and start over. Because now you got to rebuild everything from scratch. And instead of having all the resources to solve the new problems, you got to build those resources all over again. So when you think about the most expensive tax you will pay in your life, it's the quitting tax. So that's it for the episode. Quick hitter. That means we're getting out to you this week. Hope you guys enjoyed the last one, which was about, how to deal with an unsupportive support structure. We actually got a lot of comments on that. So comment on this video. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you disagree. Let me know if you have any additional thoughts. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe and also click the alert bell so you're notified every time a new episode drops. Also, check out our YouTube shorts. Lots of these clips are chopped up and thrown in there. Super excited to have you guys here. I'm Dr. Brad. I will see you guys later.